Hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Javier Garcia Tafoya. I'm a senior in the college, majoring in health and societies and concentrating in management and financing. This is actually my 8th celebration, and now it feels like a Penn tradition, like a new Penn tradition. I'm really excited to be here and to tell you a story about myself. I grew up in a town of about 225 people, 50 households in rural Mexico. And the average level of education there was 3rd grade. That was also my parents' average level of education. But the population would actually change with the seasons. And what I mean by this is that every 6 or 7 months out of the year, the adult men would leave the town after harvest season to cross the US-Mexico border in search of more work in the California agricultural industry. My father was one of these men. He came in the winter and he left before spring. He did this for about 30 years, starting when he was 16 years old, and continued until we immigrated to the US in 2004. But there's one specific story that I want to share with you tonight. Every rain season in my town, there was a river that ran through it and it would flood. On especially bad years, the river grew so large that I thought we were going to miss school for an entire week. And I don't say this with the excitement of a snow day like we do in the US, because I grew up with a very specific notion of the importance of education. You see, for the women and my mother that lived in this town, education was not a choice. It was but a privilege that they did not have and were not ready to see their children lose. Standing in waist-high water in the river, behind mammoth-sized rocks to protect themselves against the current, the women would help each of us cross the river. The older children would step on logs and rocks, and the women would help stabilize them. The smaller children would get passed along like sacks of flour down an assembly line. I'll never forget the sight of my community literally going against currents to ensure that we had a better chance at life. This belief in the power of education to create better futures is what empowered my parents to leave everything we had in Mexico and migrate to California. In the San Joaquin Valley, a community where migrants are discriminated against for looking Mexican, I had to learn to stand strong in new currents. In middle school, my science teacher once sent me to the school principal for turning in a science report that was too good for someone that had only been here for 2 years. Too good for someone that was still an immigrant. As I assimilated, my academic excellence yielded the success that allowed me to graduate from high school and get accepted to colleges, and I'm here today. But the story of how I chose Penn is rather simple. Although I was admitted to the top public and private schools in California, they did not show a commitment to me as a first-generation low-income student. I chose Penn because, as you can evidence from this room, this community and this university take access to education very seriously. At Penn, I initially found myself at a whirlpool, challenged from innumerable directions. Having zero notion of what an Ivy League institution was, I initially felt like a visitor again. Thankfully, I found a support network at La Casa Latina, a resource center for Hispanic and Latino students at Penn. As a Benjamin Franklin Scholar, I learned the importance of academic intersections, but I also learned the merit of my own intersectionalities. While taking classes with Ezekiel Emanuel, the very person who helped draft the Affordable Care Act, I learned that my passion for healthcare was also a passion for business and a passion for social justice. Being able to do research at places like Penn Med and getting published in the Annenberg Public Policy Center is a privilege that not all American students have, but at Penn, it can be part of your academic exploration. In my years I've spent here, I also had the opportunity to chair many organizations and learn how to be a better leader for my peers. Although I am to receive a degree in the study of health and society, I've also learned to be a multifaceted global citizen, empowering myself as I move between disparate spaces like my university, my family, and my town back in Mexico. My parents tell me, "We hope you realize that your education is not just for you and what you get out of it. It's about what you give back, your time there, and over your lifetime." After graduation, I will be moving to Boston and applying this mission and my Penn education to help solve current social challenges in state and local government as an associate at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Thank you. Both of my parents have been earning minimum wage since we arrived in the United States. It's been 12 years. Granting me access to a Penn education is an incredible act of humility from you, donors, friends, family. I want you to realize that you are part of a larger social movement to better our world. Like the men and women in my story, your efforts to increase access to education are helping bridge some of the biggest social inequalities in our society. Bruce Fairchild once said, "All things splendid have been achieved by those who dare to believe that something inside of them was superior to circumstance." Thank you for believing in that something inside all of us, and thank you for creating these splendid things. Penn shows you that diversity and excellence should not be trade-offs. In fact, they go hand in hand and enable change. As a Penn student of social sciences, I know that if we are going to solve some of the biggest problems in this world, like access to education and health, we need to create diversity on university campuses to foster innovative approaches to inclusion. And I've learned that inclusion, the first step towards inclusion is diversity, and the first step towards diversity is access, and access is what each of you here is helping enable. So to all of you that have helped others overcome their currents, thank you.